Hello Capricorn, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for October for the Sun or the Ascendant. Now I'm going to give you an overview, a brief overview of the key strands of this month for you, and then go on to give you a much more detailed analysis. So please stay with me. Now your ruler is Saturn, and Saturn gives you that innate discipline, that desire to beaver away at things with great determination. You can put up with some pretty tricky circumstances that other people would simply give up. You can keep going. That's the fortitude Saturn gives you. But Saturn has been twisting backwards in your sector of finance for some months now, and on the 11th of this month goes forwards. So I think that's something you're really going to appreciate. Also, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, in traditional astrology of good fortune, that also ends a retrograde on the 18th. So your financial sector gets a big boost with those two changes. It's also true that Pluto in your sign is in a semi-sextile with Jupiter all month. So if you keep the faith around the individual approach you're taking to situations, you will eventually get your rewards. But I think the overall sense of this month for you is that you're going to have a great opportunity to assert your authority. And this is going to give you the chance to raise your profile, to show a lot of extra confidence and drive, but you will need to use the power that this month gives you in an appropriate and proportionate way. So if you force something, it could be counterproductive. Now, if you're new to me or my channel, I'd be honoured if you would subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. And if you'd like to get your free daily written horoscope fired to your device each morning, please click underneath this video on the subscription link. I've been writing daily horoscopes for about 27 years, and I think I'm a bit unique amongst YouTube astrologers that still a lot of my work does centre on the media. So my daily column is featured in Britain's most read daily newspaper, The Metro. So please take advantage of viewing this too, totally free. Also, we've got year 2022 is racing up. And if you'd like to get your personal forecast for next year based on your unique birth data, if you order it now, you can get the rest of this year free, plus a character analysis and 30% off. Now, a Zodiac forecast gives us an overall feel for what's going on. Your personal forecast is based on your situation alone, and no two forecasts are the same, and you can gain searing insights into the opportunities that lie ahead, but also know where to steer clear of some pitfalls. So please see that link below too. Now, in more detail, this month begins with the Sun and Mars, the planet which is exalted in your sign, and also Mercury, all in the sign of Libra. And Libra is the 7th zodiac sign. It's cardinal like yours, so it's very much to do with leadership and action, but it's also a sign of relating, about communications. And that's the wonderful thing of Libra. It's looking to find that equilibrium and that balance. And where you're wanting to find that equilibrium and balance this month, I feel, on the whole, Capricorn, is around your professional involvement. But also you're wanting respect and not necessarily adulation. I mean, we'd all like a bit of that, wouldn't we? But you certainly want people to be mindful of how hard you work, how dedicated you are, how committed you are, how much passion that you have for whatever it is that you're involved with on a more worldly basis. Now, if that still works for you, that could be your area of opportunity this month. If it's much more to do with your personal interests, or you're a leader in some kind of community organisation, that might be the area that you're going to be very busy in. But the reason this is a month of opportunity for you is that the Sun is combining with Mars through to day 17 in what's known as a conjunction. Now the Sun is about our opportunities to manifest our true potential. So the 10th house for you is where you can shine. But Mars gives you extra oomph because being a sign ruled by the cautious energies of Saturn, sometimes you perhaps haven't always had the spark of self-belief that perhaps you could have done. So Mars is going to give you a more visible and more voluble confidence this month, and that can be a real wonderful thing. It's just that Mercury is in retrograde, also in the sign of Libra, from the start of the month through to the 18th. So Mercury obviously in retrograde can lead to snags, misunderstandings, delays, frustrations, just when Mars is really pushing you to unleash all your talent to as wide an audience as possible, and that therefore can create a little bit of a resistance. So the best way to work with Mercury retrograde is to accept that there could be some bumps in the road and anticipate them. So rather than being niggled by them, by anticipating where the obstacles could come up, then you can work your way around things, because Mercury retrograde gives us an opportunity to reprise, rethink, replan, reappraise and go again. So this can be a time when your worldly aspirations can change, and change for the better, but it may require some flexibility, and it might not go exactly the way that you initially expect. Now also, in the first week of this month, Mercury is squaring up with Pluto in your sign. So there could be someone in a position of authority who doesn't actually answer your emails, doesn't understand just how brilliant you are, and that could really agitate you. But on the 6th, Pluto goes forwards in your sign. So that's going to be very helpful to you. Pluto's about transformation, but it's also about power. Also on the 6th, we have a new moon. So the Sun, the Moon and Mars are all together right at the top of your horoscope, the midheaven, the MC. And that gives you a lot of propulsion. It's just that when we put Mars alongside the Moon, we can create a kind of desire for instant action and progress. And that can actually be a bit destabilizing. Also Uranus, the planet of freedom and truth and disruption, continues in your 5th house of self-expression, and that is in a quincunx of 150 degrees to that new moon. So a quincunx can be challenging, because what Uranus wants you to do is just be totally naturally you. And that's a bit of a push for some Capricornian people, because you're used to conforming with what the norm is. Not every Capricorn, it depends on your chart. You may have some much more rebellious influences in your natal chart, but there can be a desire for success, for prominence, for respect, for material rewards, for substantialness. I'm not sure if that's really a word. Substance, for sure. That's what you crave. And I think Uranus is kind of provoking you into being a bit more of a rock and roller, when just at the point that gathering on that new moon is saying, if you play by the rules and you're not too impatient and you expect that there can be some snags because of Mercury's retrograde, this month can be an enormous opportunity to make it all the way to the boardroom if you're not already there. So it's about understanding that this is a very, very good platform for you, but it might not be quite perfect. So you may not be able to demonstrate all of your talent in quite the way you want, but I think a much more notable awareness to your abilities can start to emerge. So take that gain. And because you are someone who's used to working at life in a very incremental, marginal gain way, you can take that better than most people who can be much more impatient. Now, on the 7th, Venus, the planet of love and affection, moves out of a very friendly part of your scope, very sociable part, which it occupied for the first 7 days. So it could be a case of who, as much as what you know around that career opportunity at the start of the month, but that then moves into an area of reflection. And if there is a relationship around you that you're not quite convinced by, you could start to really think about that much more deeply, especially if you don't really admire this person or you don't really respect them. We can all be fond of people, but really respecting someone, even if sometimes we don't like people, if we respect them, that's a very precious quality. And I think that's something you're going to be contemplating quite a bit from the 7th. But on the 11th, your ruler, Saturn, ends its retrograde. So every year, for around 5 months, Saturn is dragging its heels. And for you, it's been in your sector of resources. So once Jupiter goes forwards on the 18th, if you have been waiting for some money to come in, it can really cascade in at that point, especially with Mercury going forwards also on the 18th. Venus can also be a money planet, so what you're doing behind the scenes can also be rewarded from the 10th through to the 16th. So it may be your diplomacy, the soundings you've been taking, the fact that you don't always want to steal anyone else's thunder, you just want other people to recognise what you have to offer. Now on the 20th there is a full moon. This full moon in Aries is squaring up with Pluto, and in week 3 of this month the Sun and Pluto are agitating against one another. And this is where I was saying to you before, if you use the power this month gives you in a proportionate way, it can see you make progress. So if you encounter someone who you feel is blocking you, is not letting you climb to the summit in the way that every goat feels they deserve, and it feels like a glass ceiling in whatever your goals and ambitions are, the temptation could be to take shortcuts and really act in a bit more of a ruthless way in order to get the success you want. Try to resist this, but equally if someone tries to use really nasty tactics on you, then push back. On the 23rd, this is great for you because the Sun moves into Scorpio, which is your sector of collaboration, cooperation. And this is where you can build your connections to others. So, if you are really focused on your career situation, it may be going to or attending those online conferences where, it's a little bit of sort of chit chat, but you get to know some important players. Or it could be that work has dominated so much, all those goals, that you just want to spin out and have some fun. Totally understandable. Venus is actually squaring with Neptune from the 23rd to the 29th. If someone has been kind of emerging on your consciousness in a subtle way, and maybe you're sort of thinking, does that person really fancy me? And then actually the communication starts. There could be some secret or at least confidential tete-a-tete going on from the 23rd to the 29th. Venus and Neptune can make us think that everything is possible. It really is the stuff of dreams, but dreams can also include illusions. So just be conscious that someone may tell you something that's not actually true between the 23rd and the 29th. It may be a friend who gossips about someone you like. It may be the person you like is a bit evasive. So just be conscious of that. From the 17th to the 26th, Mars and Pluto. Mars still right at the top of your scope in that very dominant, self-confident area, strutting its stuff. And Pluto in your sector of individual transformation. They're not collaborating very well. So again, if you try too hard, try to force the power of a situation, it could be counterproductive. And then from the 27th through to the 31st, you're going to find out who your friends are, I think. And that's because the Sun's in your sector of friendship, but Saturn, although it's going forwards, is in your sector not just of money but of values. And someone could be a bit sore with you. Are they a bit jealous of you? Or are you a bit jealous of them? Or is there something you want to do about your future that requires a blend of idealism and practicality, but the money's not quite there as you want? Or you can do it, but it may not have much financial enrichment in it. Something along those lines may emerge from the 27th to the 31st. And then on the 30th, this is excellent for you because Mars bursts into your 11th house and is going to be there through to the second week of December. So obviously we've all been denied quite a lot of social interaction with COVID restrictions. And if, wherever you're located in the world, the numbers are coming down, and people in the positions of influence and authority, politicians, allow it, your desire to freely associate with others is really going to be turned to max in the following 6 weeks from the end of this month. So you can see, just to recap, with all those retrogrades unraveling, energy can start to speed up. You've got a great link between Pluto and your sign and Jupiter all month, which means if you play fair, Jupiter is about philosophy and justice. Around your desire, Pluto, you can get there. I think Mars is going to give you a really great advantage. It's going to give you a lot of ability to raise your profile and be very persuasive and very self-confident and very impressive. But just don't expect everybody to immediately fall in with what you want. So if you don't get too impatient, you stay tactical, something you're often brilliant at being, you're going to get to that summit. You just need to keep chivying away. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Capricorn. Thank you so much for joining me. Please stay safe, take care, and goodbye.